Fun fact, deep thoughts, discussions, my 2 cents. Number 51. Number 51 is I recently had a talk with somebody about AI and how it's out in the world today. And I also told him about a long time ago when I was on AOL. It was after I beta tested AOL. I was in a chat room with a gentleman, and we were discussing a lot of different things, and he wrote a computer programming book, and he was going to write a book about AI and what the future of AI and maybe robotics was. And he sent me some chapters, and I read them, and I wrote him back questions about different parts of the chapter and what kind of my take on AI at the time. And this had to be decades ago, and I still have some of that information with me here. And I don't know if he used my stuff for his book or not. I was supposed to sign something saying he'd use it and I wouldn't ask for any money, but I never got anything. So, yeah, I think I sent him something saying it was okay for him to use my input in his book and to quote me and stuff like that. But recently, we had a visitor to the house, and he was using AI for different things. He was doing a newsletter for a group, and he would generate images or poetry by just putting information into AI and getting it out and putting in the newsletter. And I don't really have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with people using materials that were copyrighted. And I think a lot of AI, what they use is material that's not necessarily is out there on the web, but they don't necessarily own. They get the information. Like he typed in Mona Lisa and Maxfield Parrish, and it was supposed to do a combo of those two artist styles and the Mona Lisa. And I don't think it really came off really well. I would not call it a Maxfield Parrish painting, and I would not call it the Mona Lisa, and I really didn't like it. Another one he did, I did like, but I still don't think it typified the styles and how those two styles would come together, because it's artificial intelligence. They're just taking two things and mushing it together, and I didn't really find it to be quality. And I think that's what I'm finding too with a lot of the AI software out there. I understand, like, you wrote a paper and you put it into AI and they change some of the words to make them more make you sound more intellectually astute, or that your vocabulary is bigger, or to smooth out the transitions, and maybe they look at the grammar and other things, and maybe they even look at the subject matter to make sure you're not misquoting or misstating a fact. And I can understand that, and you're writing an essay and you're trying to clean it up, and it's for school. But if you type in the subject and it writes you a whole essay for school, then you're not using your brain, and your brain's going to die. Way back when I talked about artificial intelligence, I talked about, should we? We are going to. This was decades ago, before it was even a blip on a lot of people's radar. But I said, we're going to. It's going to happen. Nobody's going to ask the question, should we? Should we do this? How socially, economically, how it would affect the evolution of the human soul, or anything. My main question was, well, what are we basing this intelligence off of? Well, basically, we're basing it off of a human idea of what intelligence is, and unfortunately, I don't think we have the best intelligence, so I'd prefer it if we based it off of what maybe a more intelligent creature would say is intelligence. But doing it without any forethought, or should we's, or why should we, what are the benefits, what are the downsides, as an analyst, as a business analyst, as an operational analyst, as a world analyst, the question is, should we? And why are we basing it off of human intelligence, human information? We created the computer, and we're using the computer and logarithms and algorithms and all types of stuff for these programs, basically, these artificial intelligent programs, to feed off of. And it's not necessarily the whole world, and it's not necessarily going to be, I think it's going to be static. I think what you get out of it is going to be very flat. It can learn and it can grow, but it's still going to be flat because all it's going to know is what it can access. And it can't access my heart. So it's not going to be able to replicate what I can do. Unless it takes all of these wonderful fun facts that I create and tries to recreate my mindset. But then I've always been one who, when somebody tries to put me in a box, I defy the box and I become contrary, or I just show another part of me that they don't understand. So I don't like boxes, and so I'm not a big fan of artificial intelligence. And just like I wasn't a big fan of splitting the atom, but I think and I'm not really, part of me wishes I didn't have a cell phone, that I could live off the grid. But I know that in this society, these are the things that we have, and there are benefits and downsides to everything. And I think you need to look at things that way. Yeah, they've had some studies that show that cell phones could cause cancer because of electronics. There's airwaves. I've talked about this with sound research, and vibrations that go through the air. They can affect your health. Period. Are there things that maybe we could do to protect our health so we're not so affected by these things that we created but didn't think should we, or what's the upside, what's the downside? It's just like a lot of decisions where you do pros and cons. I don't think we always do that when it comes to progression of technology and processes. We don't always think, what's the upside, what's the downside? Is it worth the risk? Is the upside worth the risk? And I don't know. I think the jury is out for me with artificial intelligence because I don't really see it being used in a beneficial way. That's so it's a tool, and it's making life easier. And yes, we can put it in robotics, and I discussed that decades ago with the gentleman who wanted my input. That yeah, it can be. They are going to marry at some point, and maybe there'll be an iRobot type situation. And a lot of sci-fi people like me and like other authors have penned these things long ago in book form, and there's been movies made about them off of the books that we don't always think, should we? And the upside and the downside, and we really don't analyze all the possibilities going forward. So to me right now, AI is a way to create things if you know how to use a computer and you don't know how to create things. And so to me, it's kind of a cheat. It's not good. But the person that I was talking to recently, when we were discussing AI, I might have to read my notes, so let's put on the funky glasses. I talked about that already. I still don't think we have AI right. I still don't think we've really can we do it? Yeah, we can. We can do anything. Should we? Don't know. Right now, I don't really see the upside outweighing the negatives, and so I'm not a fan. I don't see it finding the cure for cancer yet. Solving the problem of what creates cancer. I don't see it doing that. It's being used in very slight ways to almost, in the old days, it would have been called cheating. The other thing I talked about was I'm kind of a pure person. I can't draw. And yet, could I create another children's book that has better art in it than Grandpa's chair? By using AI? Yes. Could I Would I do it for Hummingbird Secrets? No, because I had an artist do it. And to me, her soul is in her work. Her, there's something more. When you see good art, there's something more in it. There's like a part of the person in the work, and you can feel it. And I think the things that I've seen AI create, there's a disconnect. And I'm a pure person. I go to the source, and this is taking many sources and combining it to create something new that to me isn't as good as any of the originals. And there's a disconnect, there's a flatness, there's a lack of emotion, a lack of motion, the things that I've seen. And it's very like, if you want everything to fit in a box and you want everything to be the same and kind of flat and boring, I can see AI. Otherwise, I like to connect to soul, and this is something that I brought up to the person I was talking to, because they were very into their religion in their church, and I said, but there's no soul. It's lacking the soul that I connect to when I look at art or read a story. So mathematically I can see it, but when it comes to creating something new and beautiful, I still rather have it created by something that actually has a soul or that essence, because I connect to that. And the answer the person gave me was, well, no, AI doesn't have a soul. And I said, but could it? And then that's when you have to read Children of Light and learn about Celia too. Because how is a soul created? And what is allowed to have a soul and what isn't? And can souls be created in different ways? Or do souls exist, but maybe they're just not awake? I would read Children of Light and the portion about Celia too, in order to think about that a little bit more, because yes, AI doesn't have a soul as far as we know, but could it? I think it can. And then I think that presents a whole nother set of issues, because then that's life. It's like we don't have rules and laws for a lot of things now that are going on that seem just less connected to human life. If we create something that eventually gets a soul, what is our responsibility? How do we create? It's not human, but it's alive. How do we regulate that? How do we create laws? Do we have a right? Especially if it becomes more intelligent. And I think a lot of science fiction writers have gone there. I just don't think when people are creating and thinking about capitalism and gain and not looking at the upside and the downside and seeing if it's worth what could possibly happen, we get more problems. So let's ask if we should. And right now, I don't see it being that beneficial. So I'm kind of not, I love the idea of AI and the possibilities of what it could do, but I don't see it happening. I don't see the positive side as much. I see it as a tool that helps people kind of cheat in the creative process. So, not a fan right now. The jury's out. But the downside, I don't think will be worth it in the long run to humanity and to human beings. So, that's my 2 cents on artificial intelligence. If you have thoughts on that, please write in the comments. Like, subscribe, or not. And if you're an AI, I'm coming to get you. No, if you're AI and you're looking at this, know that I was thinking of you too, as an actual entity that might not want to be created. Yeah. So, that's my thoughts and my 2 cents. Ciao, bellas.